Hey friends, welcome back to Hot News. Today we're going to start off with something a little sad and disappointing because there's a lot of breaches going on around the internet. Obviously, people have been continuously plagued by credit card hacks and the Experian hack that happened a while back where personally identifiable data got taken care of. And one of the things that a lot of people have promoted in order to make sure that you're safe on the internet is a VPN or a virtual private network. And one of the reasons that you are suggested to do this is that your data becomes encrypted, goes off to the VPN servers, and then it's all distributed and nobody knows what's going on, except in this case that one of the most popular promoted VPNs across the internet, NordVPN, just unveiled that they have indeed been breached. And we're going to go over the details on that. But I want to just go ahead and say up front that yes, we here at UFD Tech do work with a VPN provider, and one of the key tenets of the internet that I would like to express in this moment is that it's not a matter of if something's going to get hacked, but when will that happen. Nothing is perfectly secure out on the internet. VPNs are one method of making sure that you're safer than just not being encrypted at all, using encrypted messaging apps on top of that, while also using Tor, which is a distributed network. There are many ways to actually get yourself more protected, but at the same time, it could always be traced back to you. So keep that in mind as we discuss this. But NordVPN came out yesterday discussing how they indeed were hacked because one of the Finnish servers that they were renting in Finland actually had some remote management software that was not disclosed to NordVPN. Through that remote management software, it was not protected the way that it should have been, and then somebody got access to that one Finnish server. And apparently, NordVPN partnered with this Finnish server at the end of January 2018, and then the exploit, which was through the remote management server, was removed in the middle of March of 2018. So just a little over a month and a half that somebody would have been able to get access, although NordVPN is blaming the server provider that they partnered with in order to make this happen. They do state that no personal identifiable data was contracted by this. There's no way that they could decrypt the information that was going through the server, and it only impacted one of the several thousand servers that NordVPN uses in order to make sure that they encrypt your data appropriately. And yes, I did say that this happened in 2018. According to NordVPN, they said that one of the reasons they're only coming out about it now, 18 months later, is the fact that they were trying to make sure that their entire network was secure before they actually announced the exploit that had taken place. However, one of the things that kind of goes against that statement by NordVPN is that there were rumors of this hack a few days prior to NordVPN's announcement, and it actually seems like they're coming out to get ahead of that story rather than, oh, now we've made sure that our servers are safe, because it's only a couple of days from when Twitter users were discussing the fact that this was an actual proper exploit that could have been used, and it seemed like that they were going to come out to the public about it. So NordVPN getting ahead of the story, they say it's because they were trying to make sure everything was safe. Other people indicate that it's just them trying to do damage control before everything got too out of hand for them. So that's the basic story. One single server was compromised, but not to the extent where hardly anybody's data was actually intercepted and exploited. But it seems like NordVPN is arguing over which buttons were pressed on the radio when their car was stolen and taken for a joyride. Not necessarily the most high priority thing to talk about when it's clear that they didn't give precedence to the fact that their systems could be exploited, and the fact that they didn't check their server provider for having these sort of things that would allow them to be compromised. They claim that the Finnish server provider didn't disclose it to them, but if you would expect a security company to actually be handling your data security, they would check on that. They would make sure that there's no way of this happening. So it's a little concerning, and it's not necessarily something that you could have predicted was coming to NordVPN. It could happen to any other VPN provider out on the internet. Obviously, they all make strides to make sure that their data is protected, but it can happen basically to anybody. And in this hack, 2 other VPNs are apparently compromised with this. Viking VPN and TorGuard also apparently could have some similar exploits to what NordVPN had. So check your VPN providers. It doesn't seem like NordVPN is altogether compromised going forward, so I wouldn't necessarily worry if you're currently using their services, but at the same time, you do have to wonder how this happened with a company that's supposedly dedicated to security. But I'm going going to leave it there. I want to know your thoughts. Are you considering switching away from NordVPN with this? Do you view this as a once-off thing that hopefully they are now rectifying with better security stuff? Or is it something to steer you clear from their services altogether? Let me know down in the comments. Okay, so with the big news out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about some other tech news going around on the internet, which is we finally got some Firestrike scores out of AMD's Ryzen 9 3950X, which is supposed to be launching in November, and it can be compared against Intel's brand new i9 10980XE, which is an 18-core 36-thread chip, and AMD's CPU is a 16-core 32-thread chip. And apparently, at least in the 3D Mark Firestrike physics score, the 3950X beats the Intel chip by 24%. Which is crazy considering it has less cores and threads. It does appear that the IPC improvements are making huge strides for AMD. Obviously, this is one instance of one benchmark that's not even a real world scenario. It's a simulated environment, so it's not necessarily indicative of real world performance, but it does look fairly good for AMD. That's how the chip is performing. But previously, we reported that Intel is considering adding hyper-threading to their upcoming 10th series CPUs on their i3 generation, presumably as a way to counter AMD's value that they present in the same price point. Well, it also appears, according to new leaks, that it's not just the i3 that's getting the hyper-threading treatment, it is going to be the i5s, which makes a lot of sense considering AMD presents with the Ryzen 5 6 cores and 12 threads, whereas the previous i5s from Intel were only 6 cores and 6 threads. The new i5s would have 6 cores and 12 threads, roughly at the same price point of AMD. It actually just AMD's bringing the competition, making Intel actually change their product stack. It's a good thing for consumers, regardless of how well it performs. That's all I'm gonna say. And then Nvidia yesterday unveiled a brand new supercomputing platform, EGX, that they're gonna be rolling out that's supposed to be scalable for an entirely large set of purposes, all the way down from their Jetson Nano, which runs on tens of watts, all the way up to processing 14.6 terabytes of information per second, which is the need of Walmart, which is one of the key members that's signing on the unveiling of this. BMW is also one of the key people, Procter & Gamble, and then also the cities of Las Vegas and San Francisco joining on in NVIDIA's new supercomputer system. But speaking of NVIDIA stuff for just a little bit more, the GTX 1660 Super details apparently have been leaked, at least according to a leaked slide from Maxsun, which is an NVIDIA AIB partner in China, showing off that it is basically roughly a 1660 Ti. It has roughly 100 less CUDA cores, but it has faster GDDR6 memory and slightly faster core clocks. And if it's priced anywhere near the 1660 Ti, it's gonna make the 1660 Ti terrible value brand new. So NVIDIA, what are you doing? Why are you competing with yourself so hard when especially this is such a crowded market segment of $250 GPUs? AMD is doing really well in this market segment. Stop giving us this stuff. I don't know, that's my personal thing. And in case you like really fast storage to go along with a really fast graphics card, Gigabyte has finally unveiled their add-in card for expanding your PCI Express NVMe storage up to 4 times, going into PCI Express 4.0 16X slot, giving you super speed on those NVMe drives up to, I think it was something crazy like 15 to 20 gigabytes per second read and write, depending on the drive that you have on this add-in card. It's going to be crazy. Obviously, this will go well with a lot of the professional level applications that are expected to be unveiled with the new Threadripper chips coming out and the TRX 40 motherboards that are coming out that will also have PCI Express 4.0. Speaking of PCI Express 4.0 boards, EK has unveiled the Monoblock for the Crosshair 8 Hero from Asus. In case you want to water cool that thing and have a sexy looking monoblock, you can now pick that up over on EK's website. And now what you can also do, apparently, is play Breath of the Wild in VR. There's a YouTuber who posted a video showing off, at least running on the emulator, Breath of the Wild in VR, 4K 60 FPS, a little bit over 60 FPS in VR. It looks gorgeous. Emulating Breath of the Wild is probably the best way to play it, in my opinion, because you could play it at 1440p, 4K. You can enable cheats, which I love to do. Anyways, if you want to check it out, we'll leave a link in the video description for you on that one. But while you can't play VR for too long, what you can do is now fly from New York to Sydney, Australia in 19 hours with this new Qantas flight, which was used to actually do some experiments with regards to long-haul travel. This is actually a world record for commercial travel, 19 plus hours in order for them to get from New York to Sydney. They studied the effects of the pilot's brainwaves, melatonin, and overall alertness, as well as the travelers who were on board, just checking in on them and seeing the effects of that 19-hour trip. Qantas is also going to be testing out flights going from London to Sydney, and then also another New York to Sydney flight in December as part of their Project Sunrise to test the efficacy of these sort of long haul flights. They do cut down on travel time as opposed to the single stop flights to get to Sydney, Australia. But one of the issues is that they actually have to hold down on customer space because of the extra fuel that they need, only allowing for up to 49 passengers instead of the 280 that would typically fit on their flight. So you could expect this one to come in at a pretty hefty penny. Speaking of hefty pennies, that's what this new Toyota electric vehicle looks like, just like a little thick penny. It's just a thick coin. It's so small. I'm saying thick, but it's a tiny boy. So they showed off this ultra compact electric vehicle at the 2019 Tokyo Motor Show. It can go 62 miles on a single charge and up to 37 miles an hour, perfect for Reese's trips to the bathroom. Speaking of cars though, Google has announced that they're going to make it easier for app developers to bring their apps to Android Auto. Previously, you had to actually have a car. If I'm understanding the way the app development went previously, you had to have actual access to Android Auto, and now they've come out with an emulator that will allow you to do it on any old computer, which would allow them to port it quite easily. Google's saying that it should take no effort at all to port your apps, which would hopefully allow things like Spotify and other apps to have native apps on Android Auto. Speaking of Android, finally the Pixel 4 reviews are coming in hot and heavy. They're dropping all over the place, and there's some key features that Google didn't disclose, which are quite nice, and then there's also some hindrances that are going on. First up, Pixel 4's wireless charging is actually faster than the Pixel 3's, coming in at 11 watts versus the 5 watts on the Pixel 3, and can be used with third-party chargers, which the Pixel 3 could only be used on Google's proprietary Pixel stand crap that they had. So that's quite nice, faster charging, third party. And then it also appears that with Android 10, they're rolling out the new rules application, but only to select people. They're kind of A/B testing it right now. So in case you want to do that, it's basically like an if this then that type setup for location-based services, turning on your Wi-Fi or do not disturb, that kind of stuff. And then also Google Fi, apparently in some of the source codes, is going to have faster network switching between T-Mobile, Sprint, and US Cellular, which is one of the big advantages of Google Fi, is that it uses multiple carriers. Apparently, at least according to the code that I'm reading, it seems like you have to have a physical SIM, and then they'll also utilize the eSIM and switch back and forth between those two to make it so that your Pixel device can have the faster network switching there. But then also, speaking of more Pixel 4 stuff, it does appear that the 4 and 4 XL orders have started shipping from Google directly. They said that it should come out on the 26th, but at least according to the orders that I placed of our review units, we should get our Pixel 4 on Thursday, which is the 24th, and then our Pixel 4 XL should come in on Friday, the 25th. So a couple days ahead of schedule from Google, which is quite nice. And then finally, in case you break your Pixel 4 when you finally get it, uBreakiFix is going to have same-day repairs as soon as they launch. So this week, in case you drop your phone right off the bat, like you shake it like an idiot out of the box and it flies everywhere, uBreakiFix across the country is now going to have same-day repairs, the official repair provider of Google. It's actually quite a nice service. But it would be a nice service if I ended this episode of Hot News, so I'm gonna do that there. We didn't put a VPN ad spot in this one, just so you know, it wasn't that bad. But we do have our friendly giraffe right here. This is a lovely outdoor set, and I'm moving back to the United States in like 2 weeks. So see ya. Perfect for Reese's trips to the bathroom. Yes. I don't know why I said bathroom. I was thinking grocery store, and toilet came out.
Bathroom works.
Yeah.